Drivers to be ticketed for loud music. The Gymnastics USA boys team is in this week's paper. And let's have a community dialogue about our country. The date is June 30th, 2022. We're going to go through these stories and more. Welcome to West Orange on the Go. My name is Austin Arthur, and this is where we do local news and comment. And when I say local news, I mean hyper-local. West Orange. This is your news. We begin in 10 seconds.
You're listening to West Orange on the Go. Brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.
The Winter Garden City Commission convened on June 23rd and approved several ordinances pertaining to the rezoning of East Winter Garden. The pair of two ordinances were discussed and voted on separately. District 2 Commissioner Ron Mueller said although he was in support of part of the ordinance, he had concerns about leaving the area as what they call R4 and believes moving it to R2 would be more beneficial. At the previous commission meeting on June 9th, Director Steve Pash said R4 has 50-foot wide lots, smaller side yard setbacks, and is more consistent with what is developed in the area. Now, R2, what Commissioner Ron Mueller was looking for, would require a 75-foot wide lot, 10-foot side yard setbacks, and would be inconsistent. District 3 Commissioner Mark Mashel disagreed, quote, "I just don't want to take away anyone's property rights," end quote. The second ordinance passed 4-1 with Mueller dissenting. A new Florida statute requires drivers to keep their music volume down. If music can be heard at 25 feet or more from your vehicle, you may get a ticket. Now, as you suspect, this is receiving some mixed reviews from people. However, I think that, I think this may come in handy when people are trying to relax at one of our, our great downtown areas in West Orange here. You're there with the family, having a nice meal. And then all of a sudden you gotta put a pause in your conversation because some super considerate person is blaring their subpar music all over the place. So perhaps that could bring some more peace to our downtowns, and perhaps it could be beneficial. Now, we got to do something about these engine revving things, with the crazy mufflers and all that. Just obnoxious. All right, so you got all kinds of events going on for the holiday, for Independence Day. And the key to knowing where to go is going to be by getting this week's paper. Because as always, we lay it out for you. All around West Orange, you have these big red boxes, you open it up, you take the paper, and it's all listed there for you, all the Independence Day events. But I want to talk about one in particular because I am heavily involved. It is the Masonic Lodge of Winter Garden, to which I am a member. And we are hosting the annual All-American Kids Parade, and that's with a free pancake breakfast. Okay, free for the kids. So it begins at 8 a.m. That's as early, you could come as early as 8 a.m. to get pancakes. And that's going to go on till probably around 9:30 or so, 9:45. At 9:45, the parade lineup will begin. So if you want to be part of the parade in terms of being in the parade, be there by 9:45 at minimum. If you want breakfast, get there earlier. And then the parade starts at 10 a.m. Our great Mayor John Reese, he'll say some words. He always does. And some of the commissioners will certainly be there. But more on Independence Day in a little bit. That'll be in the final page. But let's go on to some more news. The Orange County Commission School Board on Tuesday, June 28th, selected Dr. Maria Vasquez as Orange County Public Schools' next superintendent. Now, comments on the Facebook seem to be coming in here, not all so positive. I don't personally know too much about the subject, but this has been, a topic of controversy, especially for the last few years with OCPS. And they are in an election cycle. Some of those seats are up on the school board. So if you like the direction of OCPS, if you like the direction it's been heading the past few years, I encourage you to vote on August 23rd. But if you do not like the direction of OCPS, if you do not like the direction they've been heading, then I encourage you to vote on August 23rd. Okay, let's go into the sports section here, hyper-local sports. Now, I'm proud of this week because this week, Gymnastics USA, the boys team there, the young boys team, they are in the paper. I mean, one of our gymnasts are there on the front page. Now, Gymnastics USA is a gymnastics center my brother and I founded in 2014. And in the paper, you can see there a picture with me and my brother and Jackie. Jackie is Xander's wife. She is co-owner of Gymnastics USA. And if you visit the facility, you will see Jackie there, and you will likely see Xander there. They do a tremendous job running the facility. Xander particularly focuses on this boys team that he has, and they are doing just incredible. I mean, state champions. Andrea walks us through it in this week's paper. I mean, these guys are on the road to the Olympics. I believe that. Okay, I mean, there's so many factors, but that's the kind of ability we have here in West Orange, right here in West Orange. You keep an eye on them and check out this week's paper for that piece. All right, and on the subject of things I love Foundation Academy. You know that I do. You know that my daughter goes there. I mean, if you listen to this program, you know that because I talk about it every week. All right, we got the summer going here, and she is getting ready for a vacation Bible school with Foundation Academy. That's going to be a lot of fun. So even in the summer, they are providing us with just great resources, great things. We're very excited to be there. This is one of the best schools in West Orange, and if you know me, you know what I'm going to say. It is the best school. All right. Sometimes you need the private option. Sometimes it's not available to you. But if you are in the position to go with the private option and you would like to do that, my strict recommendation is Foundation Academy, where character matters. So it's Independence Day this weekend. On the 4th, of course. It's Monday this year. I hope everyone takes the time to be with family and to contemplate how lucky we are. We live in the greatest nation the world has ever seen. We are still the last best hope of man on earth. A shining city on a hill. You know, we seem to have lost something in America. I remember growing up, both of our political parties, they fought and had a lot of differences. They even raged against each other. It's nothing new. When you read about our first elections, with the founding fathers, well, they were brutal against each other, in their attack pieces in the newspapers. Really just inflammatory stuff. So that's not new. A lot of times we feel that is new, but it's really not. But when I was growing up, and then, and surely some of you have noticed the same thing, both sides of the debates, both sides shared a common principle. Both sides always agreed that America was great because America is good. That America has done more good for mankind than any other nation known to mankind. This is a principle that all Americans in the aggregate seem to agree with for the most part. But now it sometimes seems that some believe America is no good at all, that America does not merit our reverence. Obviously, in this discussion, the most cited iniquity of America is the sin of slavery. And slavery was, and still is today, a sin. But when we say the greatest nation, when we say that America is the greatest nation, this term needs to be understood. The very term greatest is a comparative term. So, no, we're not saying the word perfect. We're saying compared to other nations, through many lines of test, America is the greatest. All nations dealt with slavery, the horrific nature of slavery. Sometimes we look back to history with a lens of our moral code as we know it today. And the problem with that is that lens has been made possible by the very people we are judging from our past. What I mean to say is that sometimes we disregard what the world was like for thousands of years. The institution of slavery has been around since biblical times and a way of life in virtually every society documented in history. People were born into these institutions, and in an amazing turn of events, mostly during the Enlightenment period, and Christians, such as the Quakers, started to wake up and fight against the horrific moral outrage of slavery. Even those very founding forefathers who were born into it. George Washington freed his slaves at the end of his life, spoke against it. Jefferson tried to change laws in Virginia to make it possible for Virginians to free their slaves. He too became fully against the practice, even though he was born into this evil institution himself and owned slaves. The Declaration of Independence, Jefferson's original draft, spoke out against the slave trade. Now, obviously, there was debate with the southern colonies. It was this declaration and subsequent constitution that ushered in, over time, the abolition of slavery in America. So whether it be Frederick Douglass, who was a slave and freed himself, who embraced the Declaration of Independence, embraced the Constitution as anti-slavery documents, or MLK, who referred to it as a promissory note, that the Declaration of Independence was a promissory note. It took a different generation than the Founding Fathers to ensure that that promissory note was cashed in. As a matter of fact, it took a couple different generations. What I'm going to do for this Independence Day episode is read some of that promissory note. I think it's important that we hear some of it. The declaration that changed the world. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world, for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.